Amsterdam, a liberal city associated with bicycles, the red light district, canals, and charming townhouses. Filled with historic architecture, magnificent monuments, and numerous museums, the city attracts tourists from all over the world. This video will take you to Amsterdam. We will stroll along the numerous canals, visit the Red Lantern Quarter, see the flower market that is located on the water, visit several museums and many other places. Come join us in Amsterdam. Obviously, what is most associated with Amsterdam are the numerous canals, along which stand charming townhouses. Together, they stretch for over 100 kilometers. The central canals form the so-called Canal Belt, which is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Until 800 years ago, the marshes and floodplains of the Amstel River stretched here. The first canals in Amsterdam were built during the Middle Ages. They served a purely practical function and allowed direct transport of goods from the ports to the warehouses, which were located in merchants' houses. Amsterdam's canals took their present shape in the 17th century, when the city was in its heyday, known as the Golden Age. There are about 1,500 bridges overhanging the canals, connecting about 90 islets. As a result, it is possible to walk endlessly along the canals. Amsterdam also has an abundance of bicycles, which can really be seen everywhere. There is a special network of routes for cyclists to get around the city. You can easily rent a bike and explore the city from such a perspective. There are quite a few rental shops in the city, as well as bicycle parking lots and garages. An alternative to walking or biking is a canal cruise, which takes about an hour. They differ in route and other details, such as the availability of foreign language in the audio guide. Most of Amsterdam's canal-side houses are very narrow, as taxes used to be paid according to the width of their facades. Therefore, you can easily guess that the wide tenements were once home to wealthy people, such as the one that now houses the Willet Holthuysen Museum. The narrowest tenement house in Amsterdam is just over 2 meters wide. It is easy to notice that the townhouses do not stand straight, but are slanted to the sides. Well, because of the swampy terrain, the foundations of buildings were strengthened by placing them on wooden piles. These piles rotted over time and sank into the swampy ground. Most tenements have a hook at the top, which was used to pull in furniture that did not fit in the narrow stairwells. The slope of buildings toward the canal was a deliberate measure to ensure that lifted objects did not flap against the facade and could be transported safely. Near Amsterdam's central station stands the Basilica of St. Nicholas. It was built in the 19th century in Neo-Baroque and Neo-Renaissance style. Attention is drawn to its 3 massive towers. The interior of this basilica impresses with its beautiful stained glass windows, sculptures, and altar. The Basilica of St. Nicholas can be visited free of charge. From the Basilica, it is worth walking along Damrak Street, which leads to Dam Square. It is hard to believe that only a few hundred years ago the Amstel River flowed through here, reaching the harbor at Dam Square. Over time it was decided to cover it at this point, and today Damrak Street stretches here. The history of Amsterdam began with the creation of a dam on the Amstel River. From it, incidentally, derives the present-day name of the city, which was originally called Amstelredam, literally a dam on the Amstel River. In later years, the area around the dam developed into a square where the Amsterdam authorities had their seat, merchants gathered, and fairs were held. It was also the site of public executions. At the square once stood two important buildings, the first city hall and the building housing the city scales, where various goods were unloaded and weighed. The buildings, unfortunately, no longer exist today. However, Dam Square is not exactly empty, because in the middle stands the National Memorial, which commemorates the victims of the Second World War. The Royal Palace, which is housed in the former City Hall building, also draws attention in Dam Square. It was built in the 17th century in the Classicist style. At the time of its construction, it was the largest town hall in Europe and was meant to highlight the prosperity of the Dutch Golden Age. Most of the rooms in the Royal Palace are open to the public. Among others, you can see the Civic Hall with its impressive chandeliers, the marble floor of which depicts a giant map of the world. Its decoration is also a 6-meter-high sculpture of Atlas, holding the globe on his shoulders. At the back of the Royal Palace stands the Magna Plaza Shopping Center. The complex is housed in a neo-Gothic building that used to belong to the General Post Office. It is worth visiting to see the rich decorations. At Dam Square also stands the new church. The origins of this temple date back to 1408, but due to numerous fires and changes during the Reformation, little original decoration remains. The temple was rebuilt in the Gothic style, while the interior was left rather austere. This is because Protestantism was the dominant religion in the Netherlands, which by definition is opposed to paintings and sculptures decorating churches. The new church no longer serves a religious function, but is open to the public. Coronations and weddings of the royal family are held here, as well as organ music concerts and exhibitions. Along the single canal stretches the Bloemenmarkt, Europe's only flower market, which is located on the water and consists of a dozen tents set up on the canal. Here you can buy cut flowers, as well as flower bulbs and souvenirs. De Wallen is Amsterdam's largest and most famous red light district. It is located in the oldest part of the city, which is crisscrossed by canals and narrow streets. It is one of the most popular tourist destinations in Amsterdam. It is mainly famous for its brothels, coffee shops, and restaurants. The Red Lantern Quarter is a world-famous erotic place that bursts into life in the evenings. The storefronts are then illuminated in red, and scantily clad women encourage people to take advantage of their services. The custom of lighting red lights emerged in Europe in the 15th century, when sailors went ashore after expeditions in search of entertainment. Women began to display candles covered with red lampshades in their windows. What were these lights supposed to mean? Probably with their help, they wanted to let people know about their profession. In the 2000th year, prostitution was legalized in the Netherlands, turning it into a profitable economic sector. This allowed prostitutes to pay taxes and retire regularly. Dutch authorities also aimed to prevent the growing number of female emigrants who were forced into prostitution for lack of opportunities to find legal work. Unfortunately, this phenomenon still exists, only that it is underground. In the Red Lantern district, it is forbidden to photograph women behind display windows. There are heavy fines for doing so. Interestingly, the city authorities want to change the face of the district and plan to move the establishments currently located in the Red Lantern quarter out of the historic center. A statue of the prostitute Belle has even been erected in Amsterdam as a sign of respect for sex workers around the world. The location of this sculpture may seem controversial. This is because it stands next to the oldest church in Amsterdam. In the Red Lantern Quarter, you can find the Old Church, which was built in the 13th century, although its current appearance is the result of a 16th century reconstruction. Today, the Old Church no longer serves a religious function, but is open to the public. Exhibitions are held inside. There is a fee to enter it. Amsterdam is known for its liberal attitude to stimulants. During a visit to this city, you can visit the Museum of Hashish, Marijuana, and Cannabis. The collection includes nearly 12,000 exhibits related to the cultivation, consumption, and importance of hemp over the centuries. At the museum, you can learn about the history of stimulants, as well as how they are used in the production of clothes, paper, or oil, as well as in agriculture and medical practices. On the New Market Square stands the 15th century House of the Scales, which originally served as the city gate and was surrounded by canals. After the demolition of the city walls, the building was converted into a city weighing scale, and the upper floor was used as an anatomical theater for public dissections. The New Market is now the center of commerce and socializing, as there are quite a few bars and cafes. Rembrandt is one of the most famous Dutch painters. In Amsterdam is his house, where he lived for almost 20 years until bankruptcy and the auction of this property. In the early 20th century, the house was converted into a museum. The interiors where Rembrandt lived and worked have been recreated, among others, based on some of the paintings of a painter or his students. A collection of the artist's engravings and works by other painters contemporary to Rembrandt can be seen there. Tours of the museum are conducted with an audio guide. If you like our videos, please leave a like and subscribe, as it will help us develop this channel. The NEMO Science Center consists of several floors with interactive exhibitions that take visitors into the world of science. The building has a distinctive shape that resembles a hull. On the roof of the NEMO Science Center is an observation deck, which is the highest city square in the Netherlands. Next to the NEMO Science Center is the National Maritime Museum, which was arranged in a former naval warehouse. Also worth visiting during your visit to Amsterdam is the Begijnhof, which consists of a group of houses built around a secluded courtyard. The Begijnhof was the abode of the beguines, who formed a secular religious community. The Begijnhof we can see today was built in the first half of the 15th century. For begin, that is unmarried women working for charity. Begijnhoves were popular in Belgium, France, and the Netherlands. The Begijnhof is an oasis of tranquility, squeezed between the busy streets of the city. It can be visited free of charge. Within the Begijnhof is a distinctive house with a black wooden facade. This is the oldest existing residential house in Amsterdam, which was built in the 15th century. The Anne Frank house is a home of Jewish girl who in 1942, in fear of the Nazis, hid with her father Otto and several others behind the walls of an outbuilding located at the back of one tenement house. The entire group stayed there for nearly 2 years, after which they were exposed and taken to concentration camps. All except Anne's father were exterminated. The girl kept a diary in which she wrote about the tragic daily life, ordinary activities, and growing up under constant terror. The diary was published after her death and moved readers around the world. A museum was set up in the former hideout, which is still of interest today. The exhibition found here tells the story of Anna's life and her diary. You can also see the hiding place where the girl stayed. Near Anne Frank's house is the Westerkerk, which is the West Church. The interior of this church appears empty and modest, as it was decorated according to the Protestant law in force. It is rumored that the famous artist Rembrandt was buried in the church, but unfortunately, no one has found evidence of this so far. Entrance to the church is free. Amsterdam is called the City of Museums. There are quite a few museums here, as we have already seen. However, the most important is yet to come, as we are at Museum Square, where 3 important art galleries can be found. The Rijksmuseum is the symbolic entrance to the historic part of Amsterdam. It is one of the most popular museums in all of Europe. It is housed in an impressive 19th century building that combines elements of Gothic and Renaissance architecture. It is one of the first buildings in Europe to be built for museum purposes. The museum displays some 8,000 exhibits, including works by the great Dutch masters, illustrating the history of the region. The collection includes paintings, sculptures, handicrafts, and applied art. The collection includes, among others, a collection of works by Rembrandt and Vermeer. The most famous paintings to be found in the museum's collection are Night Watch and Dr. Damon's Anatomy Lesson by Rembrandt, Vermeer's The Milkmaid, and Vincent van Gogh's self-portrait. The Vincent van Gogh Museum is one of Amsterdam's most important museums. It is housed in a 1970s edifice and a circular building that was added 20 years later. On display here in chronological order are 200 paintings and 500 drawings by Vincent van Gogh, an artist who became famous only after his death. Among others, the treasures of the collection include sunflowers, numerous self-portraits, and the bedroom. In addition to paintings by him, it exhibits works by other painters close to his style, his letters and sketches, Tickets to the Van Gogh Museum are worth buying online in advance. The Stedelijk Museum of Contemporary Art includes many works primarily by French and Dutch artists. The most popular section is devoted to works from the 19th and 20th centuries, but you will also find newer exhibits. The building was erected for museum purposes and is shaped like a bathtub. The museum has been adding to its collection for many years, with works by famous artists such as Picasso, Rothko, Dumas, and Mondrian. In addition to paintings, you can also see prints, posters, and comic books. Vondelpark is Amsterdam's oldest, largest, and most popular park, covering an area of about 47 hectares. It is located near the museum district, so it is the perfect place to relax after a busy day of sightseeing. The park has been arranged in the English style with a classic symmetrical layout of alleys and a rose garden. There are also ponds, canals, and many walking paths. In the park, you can relax in the shade of trees, as well as cycle and jog. The Heineken Experience is a museum dedicated to the history of Dutch beer and brewing. Here you can see historical exhibits such as original barrels, bottles, and a miniature horse-drawn carriage for transporting beer. The whole experience is enhanced by a multimedia setting. The tour ends with a tasting. Albert Cuyp Market is a street market with its name commemorating the 17th century Dutch painter. Along the street there are plenty of stalls set up where you can buy fruits and vegetables, fish, cheese, flowers, clothes, as well as souvenirs. When visiting this place, be sure to try the wafer-thin round cookies, made of 2 layers of sweet dough with a caramel filling. These are the famous Dutch stroop waffle. It is also worth taking a free ferry to the other side of the North Sea Canal. Ferries depart from under the central station and reach several places, including under the Edam Toren, a 22-story skyscraper. It has served as an entertainment center for several years. On its roof is an observation deck with a giant swing. You can also take a ferry to the NDSM Industrial District, which is full of street art. NDSM is a sizable space where you will find abandoned docks, industrial halls that street art creators have taken over, as well as pubs and original stores. If you come to the Netherlands in the springtime, go to the Keukenhof, a place that is located about 35 kilometers from Amsterdam. Here you can see the largest garden with flowering bulbous plants in the world. In an area of 32 hectares grows about 7 million tulips, hyacinths, crocuses, and other flowers. We hope that with this video you will plan a successful trip to Amsterdam. We also encourage you to subscribe to the Experience Countries channel to stay updated with our upcoming videos.